Hey guys, Millie Spirit here, how y'all doing? And welcome back to another fine episode of Seduce Me to The Demon War. I slowly made my way into the room and sat back onto the bed, letting the rush of exhaustion run through me like a wave of water. I shut my eyes and fell back onto the mattress with a soft thud. We were a handful of days away, and I wasn't sure how we were going to handle it, now that we were apparently being tested on top of it.
You have nothing to fear from me, child.
I didn't even have the strength or care to sit back up. I let out a sigh and continued to stare at the ceiling, greeting the voice in my head with a grimace. Why are you doing this? Why not just test him yourself?
One cannot be tested if they are not ready for the consequences.
That got me to sit up. I looked to the fireplace, remembering the dream I had of Sam being burnt alive. A shudder ran through my spine as the voice chuckled.
You know what will happen if he is not worthy of my power.
But why must he take it?
He wishes to kill the abomination demon lord, correct?
My anger flared. How was this being so high and mighty of himself? Diana and Sarah seemed to respect him for his power, but if he was so powerful, then why wasn't he here himself testing Sam? The voice answered my thoughts.
I am bound to the dark, as I have always been for eons.
Eons?
Yes, child. My kind and I have lived within the depths of the abyssal plains ever since the dawn of time, feeding off of the ashes of the dead and granting the world above us peace.
Peace? Was the being some kind of underground creature? How was it able to communicate through fire then?
We are all powerful, child. Should we desire it, we could bring the world to its knees and drown it in endless flame.
From the power behind his voice, I could tell that he was telling the truth. A violent shiver ran up my spine as I imagined the castle and the lands around us completely covered in flames. The voice, however, continued.
Fear not, however. We care little for the world above.
Then why get involved now with the Demon Lord?
The Demon Lord is a mad abomination undeserving of the power of the demon world. For what is to come, he must be eliminated.
What do you mean? What's to come?
Talking to the voice?
I quickly looked to the door to see Sam staring at me intensely. What surprised me was that he was in demon form. I could only assume his glamour spell vanished from how much energy he had used in training. I nodded and looked to the fire. The voice was telling me about itself. It apparently lives beneath the demon world. I hoped that Sam knew what it was. Whatever this thing was, it seemed to think of itself as the most powerful being in the world, which I couldn't verify if it was unknown to me. Sam, however, cocked an eyebrow.
So it's a dragon.
Wait. What? I shot my head at Sam, both confused and thrown off at the answer. A dragon? A dragon? When did that become part of the list of demons in the world? How were dragons even remotely related to demons? Sam stared at my face and laughed before walking over and ruffling my hair.
What? You didn't think they were real?
No. I mean, anything possible at this rate. But a dragon? How is that possible? The voice in my head laughed at my surprise, but what shook me was that Sam reacted as well to the laughter, looking around the room in shock.
The fuck?
I am surprised that you know of what I am. Oh, Maurice.
Call me Sam.
Well, at least now we're talking to each other.
You choose to acknowledge your human name.
Yeah, I do. Got a problem with that?
You become more interesting to me every day that passes. Sam.
Thanks. Now why the fuck are you testing me?
He has such a good answer.
Do you wish to kill the Demon Lord?
I watched a flash of rage rush across Sam's eyes as he nodded, pinning his gaze to the fire before us and seeing the same eyes I had seen before appear within the flames.
Yeah, I do.
Then I will grant you my power, if you are worthy to take it.
What? If I'm worthy? What's that supposed to mean?
The voice ignored Sam and focused its attention on me.
Child, you should prepare for tomorrow. You will be tested as well.
Oh shit. I'm gonna be tested. No! Me? I stared into the fire, now slightly afraid of what test this thing had in store for me. Would it have Diana disguise herself as Sam? Could Diana even do that? I didn't want to assume that it would use the same trick twice. The possibilities were endless. I shook my head and took a breath. I had to be strong and show it that I wasn't afraid. Alright, I'm ready. Alright, I'll be ready.
Such confidence for a human.
With that, the eyes vanished from the flames, and Sam looked to me, wrapping an arm around my shoulders.
You alright?
With you here, oh, she better be. Yes. I was nervous. There was no way I could have been alright. Yet, deep in my gut, I knew that everything was going to be okay. I had to be confident in my skills, that I was ready for whatever this thing threw my way. I have I say that I'm alright out here, but in there, it's saying, no, I'm not alright. I'm not alright at all. Oh my god, really? We're saving here. Good
You
lord.
alright?
Ah. Yes. I nodded to Sam, seeing him smile a bit. I gave him a little smug smile and flexed my arm. I'll be okay. Let me at it. Sam laughed, now relaxed, and gently nudged me.
Good. Now kick the test's ass, whatever it is.
I nodded softly. I had to breathe. Everything would be okay. As I took a deep breath, I took a moment to take in that Sam was still in demon form. I chuckled a bit and touched his horns, which I found hilarious as they protrude from the sides of his head like handlebars. I'm never going to get used to you in this form.
Huh? Oh, shit! I forgot to turn back. Sorry!
I stared at Sam as he stepped back and looked down at his form in surprise as he rubbed the back of his head. I could see the comfort he had in what was his true form. While it wasn't totally different from his human form, he still had horns and the incubus taint on his skin. Sam shook his head and began to change his energy.
I'll change back.
You don't have to. Sam was comfortable in that form. If he was exhausted, then he didn't have to use more energy to glamour himself. I held out my hand and walked over, placing it on his chest and stopped him.
Huh?
Don't worry about it. You don't have to. Sam stared for the longest time before smiling and nodding. I was happy to know that he was considerate enough to consider my feelings, but if he was happy in his true form, then I didn't mind sleeping beside it. As I looked at him, though, a dangerous curiosity crept over me. Oh dear. Oh dear. I had never really thought of making love to him in this form. In his human form, absolutely, but not with him as the demon he truly was. Would it be different than what I expected? Would it be exactly as I imagined it? I'm gonna save. Time it goes to that part, I giggle. I giggle like a schoolgirl. I bit my lower lip, letting the curiosity fester in my mind a bit.
Huh? What's with the look?
The curiosity has taken place. I'm sorry. I didn't notice the expression my face was making as I stared at Sam's body, causing me to jerk my gaze up into Sam's eyes and shake my head. Huh? Nothing? Nothing!
Nothing, huh?
Sam slowly began to stalk towards me, forcing me to step back and eventually lean against the wall, with him placing his arms on either side of my head. I was trapped and could only stare up at the captor.
I think you're staring at me and thinking bad things.
I felt my heart rush into my throat. It silenced me as I gazed into Sam's emerald eyes, which so slightly dilated in a small form of lust. Now I done it. Sam chuckled and leaned in close, touching his nose to mine.
So, you gonna tell me the truth?
Well, I might as well. It's time to get some booty. Sam thought he had the upper hand, however, I knew how to make him go crazy. I leaned forward and locked lips with him, making him gasp against my mouth. I slyly wrapped my arms around his neck and pulled him close, letting him know that he was right and that he had better be good on my thoughts. Sam pushed forward, groaning softly and pinning me to the wall with his body. I felt my hand roam his skin. It was so strange. There was no difference in texture of Sam's green mark from his skin, almost as if the marks were part of his physically nude appearance. So I could feel the power Sam carried just from touch and passion alone. Sam was definitely strong, and he only reaffirmed my mental assessment as he gripped onto my hips and lifted me up higher on the wall and made me wrap my legs around him. Unconsciously, I gripped onto his horns, causing him to growl almost animalistically. Against my lips and make me gasp at the sound. I stared wide-eyed at Sam, seeing his eyes glow slightly. Did I hurt you?
No.
I became lost in his eyes as he began to deeply enthrall me. A small ring of green around his lustful blown pupils, glowing gold as the spell took hold. I released a heavy moan before gripping his horns hard and pulling him back to me for a kiss. His kisses became eager and wild, like grabbing hold of his horns was a turn on for him, was it? Sam zipped us back to the bed with his inhuman speed and settled himself with me in his lap. and him sitting back against the bedpost. His hands began to wander around my body, trying to control themselves from simply tearing through the fabric dividing us. In my own desire and need, I quickly forced myself away from Sam's lips and touched my nose to his, staring deep into his eyes as I began to undo every bit of clothing and strip them off of me before tossing them who knew where. It's just like oh gosh. Thankfully, he was already bare for me, so that was one less outfit in our way. As I finally became fully bare above him, Sam wrapped his hands around my waist and adjusted himself to kneel on his knees. He straddled over me. We didn't even need to play to know that this was going to be a rough ride. I settled my hands back on Sam's horns, my lustful eyes burning into his as he guided me and smirked a toothy grin at me.
You better hang on.
Oh dear. Hang on to those handlebars. As my entire body became rushed with ecstasy, I couldn't stop the loud and wild moan from escaping my body, or from my eyes rolling back in wild euphoria. Sorry guys, I ain't gonna get that word. My world rocked with waves of pulse of pleasure and desire. The room around us, the smell of sweat in the air, it all became irrelevant as I made hard love to the man beneath me, clinging to his horns like handlebars. The harder we went, the louder we became. My vision was blurred in pure ecstasy, and I could feel nothing but the pleasure rushing through me and Sam's horns within my grasp. Soon the entire room almost quaked at the sound of our passion. As we peaked, we released a simultaneous scream and howl of carnal euphoria before wrapping our arms around each other and panting wildly. The sweat between us tingled with the heat in the air, making us shiver in each other's arm. I was in utter bliss, and Sam soothed me and held me close as he very slowly tucked us beneath the bed sheets and held me close to him, allowing me to recover from the experience. Fucking demon style was definitely a new experience. The fuck? I cuddled into Sam's embrace, nuzzling his chest and almost purring happily at the warmth that emanated from it. Sam kissed my head and chuckled.
You alright?
I could only nod before feeling myself pass out. Sam followed soon after, both of us becoming lost in the dark void of slumber. I had to be ready for the trial. I have expected to wake up to Diana being disguised as Sam as the morning came. However, as I woke, I was happily in the arms of the man I loved. Despite the tired fog over my vision, I could sense that the man who was holding me was a true Sam. The way he held me gave it all away. As he pulled my body close to him, I giggled, knowing Sam was awake. I know you're awake.
No, you don't, you doofus.
I laughed and kissed his nose softly, causing Sam to open his eyes. As he gazed into my eyes and smiled, I felt my heart completely swell in joy. I had almost forgotten about the day ahead. All I wanted to do was stay in bed with him a little longer.
Warning,
Morning. Sam lazily leaned forward and kissed me before pulling me to his chest and sitting us both up.
Come on. Time to get up.
Do we have to? As I asked, I could sense a new determination from Sam. Something about him seemed confident, despite having just woke up. I tilted my head and placed my hands on his shoulders, curious as to why that was. Hey, what's going on? Hey, what's got you so energized? Sam turned his head and looked in my direction, giving me a surprised look himself.
Huh? What do you mean? I'm always energized.
Well, that's good to hear.
Sam and I looked over at the door, suddenly to see Diana leaning against the archway, holding 2 large plates of food. I was surprised she was able to carry them. Both plates were piled with food that looked absolutely delicious. Sam and I practically levitated at the sight before Sam shook his head and glared at Diana.
Whoever learned how to knock?
Well, we have a lot to do, so I figured knocking would only waste precious time. My apologies.
Diana walked over at last and handed us our plates before stepping back and crossing her arms. Sam began to chow down as I took the slower approach to eating what I was given with a laugh.
So, are you prepared for your test, dear?
That made me stop and look up at Diana. She knew that I was next. She already devoted herself to the dragon before, so it wasn't surprising, but maybe she knew what exactly was in store for me. I couldn't be sure. Do you know what my test is? Diana nodded as Sam looked up to see her answer. I gulped, now a bit worried. Can you tell me?
Unfortunately, no, I cannot. If I could, I would, dear.
I grimaced, looking to the fireplace, knowing that the dragon was probably watching. I half expected him to answer for Diana, but he didn't speak. My mind began to fill with ideas of what it could be about. What was I going to be tested on? How was it going to go down? Would I have to fight? All of the possibilities lingered in my thoughts as Sam finished his food.
Hey.
I looked to Sam, feeling him rub my back gently with his strong hand. I felt some comfort in the gesture and more from the smile on his face.
You'll be fine. I believe in you.
I was happy to know that Sam believed in me and supported me. I gave him a loving peck on his lips, causing him to stare wide-eyed with a blush. I had to giggle at the sight, while Diana rolled her eyes and let out a groan. Diana, however, looked at the fireplace.
I will say this, though. It should be easy for you.
Okay. Huh? It should be easy? Diana nodded before turning around and looking over her shoulder to maintain eye contact with me.
Yes, that is, if you believe in your love.
I stared wide-eyed at Diana before she turned and walked away, leaving me and Sam alone. I grew curious and concerned, but I had to let it go for now. The test was apparently tonight, so I had to wait. As I arrived in the hall for training, I was surprised to see Diana in the room instead of Saro. I'm sorry, I paused there. I forgot his name a little bit. Diana. Diana turned to me and crossed her arms, taking in my form.
You will be training with me today. I apologize for Saro's absence.
What do you mean? Where is Saro?
He asked to train on his own for the day. As he will be in the front lines of the siege, I granted him permission.
I pressed my lips together into a fine line, but nodded. And we're gonna save right here, just to make sure. I think everything's going okay. I pressed my lips together into a fine line, but nodded. It was charging at the front. Then it made sense that he'd want to take a day and work on himself. I held my hand out and summoned my weapon, ready to fight the queen of the rebellion head-on. "All right, then, don't hold back." Diana nodded and prepared her stand, summoning her saber and bringing it back behind her. I had to use this training partner as a new experience. Not everyone would fight like Settle, so this was a good challenge for me. Fighting with Diana was no easy task. She was quick and thought 10 steps ahead of me, catching me off guard at some point. Still, I could tell that I was putting up a good fight with my defense. What surprised me was how time passed by without me even noticing it. The more I clashed with Diana, the more ignorant I became of the sky. Eventually, descent from the light purple to dark orange. Soon enough, our training had ended. I panted out of breath, but surprisingly still on my feet. I didn't understand how or why, but I could only assume that I was getting better, which was a good thing. Diana smirked as she relaxed, stretching back and making her saber vanish.
I will admit, dear, you've done well for just a handful of days.
I grinned, happy to hear that I had impressed Diana with my skills. I only trained for a couple of days, but showed great improvement. Maybe the demon world was aiding me in becoming a stronger person. Thank you, Diana. Diana nodded before walking to the exit of the room.
Now, please excuse me. I must see to the boys. You are free to come with if you'd like.
I declined and left the room, as well towards the opposite direction, feeling my bed calling to me. Besides, I didn't want to be a distraction. As I was heading to my room, I passed by a door that was only open a small crack, overhearing a quiet conversation.
This idea is idiotic, guard. Leaving during a war could be considered treason, and you would be abandoning your duties to your mistress.
I know that, but
Fuck it, repair again. I stopped walking and peered inside, wanting to see what was going on. Shadow was standing steadfast by the large fireplace, as Shadow, arrogant as ever, loomed over the small table that was covered in maps and books.
Do you really think a quest like this is beneficial to the war? All it would do is leave us with one less powerful ally for a significant amount of time.
I would not be gone long. I'd research this.
Yes, I've researched this route multiple times. You've already spouted that more times than I care to appreciate. Regardless, even if things did go your way, and you journey there and back without some form of incident, you would turn up a day before the siege. Your mistress will not likely forgive your absence.
But I have a feeling that this will be worth that absence. If I can do this, if I can prove that my love for her is real.
You are having delusions of grandeur. Love does not exist for us demons. This quest is folly.
I glared at Shadow. Why was he being such an ass? Cyril, however, looked to his feet, gritting his teeth and shutting his eyes.
You came here and asked for my counsel, guard. I am merely telling you the truth of the matter. Whatever hope that human placed in your mind is illogical, and only a detriment to our cause. I hope you take my words into careful consideration. Nothing fruitful will come from this journey you wish to undertake.
As he finished speaking, Shadow faded into a black shadow on the ground and slipped into a dark corner of the library, vanishing from sight completely. Cyril growled beneath his grit teeth and slammed his fist against the mantel behind him, forming a large crack in the stone.
Damn it.
I'm gonna enter. Shadow was wrong. Shadow was wrong. Whatever Sarah wanted to do to prove his love toward him was worth it. I felt my heart agree with my thoughts, with a firm thump in my chest. We're gonna save right here. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door and entered the room. Sarah looked up at me with a strange gaze when he heard the door creak as it opened.
Oh,
Sarah looked down at the table, embarrassed, while he rubbed the back of his neck.
How long were you there?
Long enough to hear what Shadow said about me. With a frown, Cyril turned his gaze to his feet as I stepped further into the room. He let out a sigh.
I've been thinking a lot about what we've talked about. You asked me if there was a way to prove my love to Azair. Well, there is a way.
Really? Sarah nodded before ushering me over to the table. I walked over and looked at what Sarah wanted to show me. A large set of maps all point to a single area in the abyssal plain near the ocean.
There's a legend that has been passed around the demon world for eons. The Golden Rose. It's said that if someone finds its hiding place and proves that the love in their heart is real, the rose will blossom and become physical proof of their true love.
Is this legend true?
No one can say for sure. No one has ever found it. Yet the legend exists, so it must have some form of merit. I've tried for years to find its location, and now I have.
Sarah pointed at a hand-drawn circle on the map and glided his fingers along the map towards the area where the rose was said to be.
It would only take me 2 days to get there and to return. If the story is true, then I'm positive I can find it and bring it back to Azair as proof of my love.
As Sarah finished, his smile darkened to a sad grimace.
However, I have been advised against this journey, and for good reason. I would be abandoning my lady days before the final battle, and that alone could be considered treason. Even more so, would she forgive me for leaving at such a crucial time?
I looked at Sarah's face, seeing the conflicting emotions running through his eyes. As he stared at the map in front of us, was it really worth it?
Still, this may be my only chance to do this. When we win this war, my lady will require me to be by her side more so than ever. I must be there to support her at all times when she rebuilds this broken world, but I would lose the chance to prove my love to her.
I didn't know what to say in response. Well, I wanted him to do what he felt was right. There was so many things that could go wrong. What if the legend was false? He would be gone for nothing and would come back empty-handed. What if something happened while he was away? He wouldn't be able to return in time to help. Or what if something happened to him on his journey? He wasn't invincible. I closed my eyes, trying to figure out what to say to him. When I realized what I wanted to say, I spoke up. And this will go right here, because this will be a choice. I have a feeling it was. You should go. That's my answer. Sarah really loved Diana. It was plain as day, as if she wasn't persuaded yet from his words and dedication. This journey would convince her. It was worth the risk. If he was really in love with her, she was strong enough to handle things on her own while Sarah was away. Sarah looked to me in surprise as I smiled at him. If this will prove your love to her, then you should find the rose and give it to her. Whatever the risk is, if you believe it worth it, then do it. Something in Sarah's eyes glistened, as if a spark had been ignited, and the hope in his heart began to burn with joy. A smile grew onto his face, and he nodded, now determined.
You're right. I'll leave tonight and come back with the rose, even if it's the last thing I do.
I grinned widely. I was happy for him. To see Sarah determined to prove his love filled my soul with joy. As he stepped towards me, I watched as he wrapped his arms around me, giving me a friendly hug.
Thank you for your help. I won't ever forget this.
Aww. You got this. I smiled and hugged him back, patting his back. At my words, he squeezed me tighter before letting me go. Sarah nodded to me for rushing out of the library, most likely to set off on his journey, as quickly as possible. He needed all the time he could get. I, however, felt my heart give an improving thud in my chest. I had done the right thing. It raised a question, however. Would I have done the same for the one I love? After a brief moment, I nodded to myself. Yes, I would have. I left the library and headed towards my room, now filled with determination of my own. As I marched back to my room, I was stopped by Sam. I stared at him as he leaned against the door to our room, as if he had been waiting for me for a while.
Hey.
Hey. I knew that this could only mean one thing. My test was waiting for me. I pressed my lips together, nervous, but knowing that I had to go through it. Regardless of how I felt, Diana's words began to flood back into my mind as I took Sam's hand and gave it a squeeze. And with that, guys, I'm going to end this episode here, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. If you do like these episodes, please remember to give me a like on any of my videos that I have done so far. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked that video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're new to my channel, you can always subscribe. You can always drop me a line down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Talk to you guys later. Surrounded his and Diana's bodies.
Enough!
Sam shook his head and jumped up, but at the sight of the real me, he instantly dropped his sword and tackled me, wrapping his arms around me and hugging me tightly.
Holy shit! You're okay!
Sam! I stared into his shoulder, feeling him shake violently as he held me. My body couldn't help but shudder with him, feeling every ounce of his love as he gripped me tightly.